So that's a joint collaboration between my son Caleb here and myself, and also a gentleman whose name I won't mention because I don't like him very much, who actually called us thugs, and he meant it as an insult. He was actually referring to my entire jiu-jitsu academy. He said, "Oh, they're just a bunch of thugs." And I thought about it, and I was like, I mean, he's not wrong. We do have a lot of thuggish people training here. And so for about a year, we've just been jokingly calling ourselves the Thugs. And then when Caleb wanted to kick off this trial or this tournament, which was really the result of a overnight drive to go compete at Hands while drinking way too much energy drink and downing too much nicotine, that led to us come up with this idea. And so we just named it the Thug Trials.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. I hope you're having a pretty good day. I'm in this mood right now. I'm in a good mood. I want to level it, but I want to go up. And here's why. I have not one, not two, but three guests on the other side of this panel who I'm going to talk to here in a second. Now, here's the thing. You may not know them fully yet. Maybe you do. Maybe you're watching this because you do know them. But if you don't know what they're about and what they're trying to produce and what they are starting to produce for our community, I think it's a good idea if you get to know them. So we're going to get to know them in a second. But first, why don't we plug my stuff? First and foremost, if you like this show, and I hope that you do, I would love it if you head on over to patreon.com/grappling hour. But Raph, what do I get if I go to your Patreon? Well, every month you get 4 interviews for the low price of $5. Plus, you're supporting this show and you're supporting the guy who's made the most content in all of jiu-jitsu. Period. Nobody has more than me. BJJ Fanatics, close second. Actually, I'm thinking about it. I mean, they have a lot of people. You know what it is? All of those are like 8 hours. So if you start to do anyway, I don't want to get into that. Probably first, just take my word. That's what we're going to do now. But if you want to go there for an extra $5, you can add extra bonus content to your plate if you so enjoy that. But it all goes into supporting the show and supporting our ability to put graphics, camera, all this fun stuff. So very much appreciate that. You can also like, comment, and subscribe to this video. If you don't know what you want to comment on, by the end of this video, I will give you a topic to go ahead and chat about. So do not go anywhere. We appreciate you guys for sticking around all the way. Think of it like your mid-credit scene in a Marvel movie. You'll get to hear a question that you, the internet, can yell about. I think more than anything, that's what you're here for, right? If you like this show as well, you can go on over to rafasparza.com/merch. Get you some Grappling Hour merch. The t-shirts are there. The hoodies are there. And now the tank tops are there. So if you're on the gear and you're roided up, get one of these tanks. Most of you, questionably on steroids. But that's okay in this case because you can show off the gains. So head on over rafasparza.com/merch. And last but not least, if you want to continue the discussions that we're having here on the show, head on over to our Discord at Grappling Hour. All right, let's get into our guests right now. So these gentlemen came to my attention when I saw them doing some almost Tarantino-esque promos. Now, as I'm watching these promos, I'm thinking to myself, what are they promoting? Is this a skit? Is this a bit? Everybody in jiu-jitsu now is a comedian. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like, what are they doing? But they're not telling me just about anything. They're saying like, hey, by the way, did you know that we've got your pals, Steve, Captain America, Joachim, versus David Garmo? And I'm like, that's a really good match. Yeah, I'd watch that. I dislike them both, so I don't care whoever wins. I have to interview. It's not like I want to, but it is what it is. And then I saw down a little bit later. I see they've got a PGF alum in Senor Schneider coming onto the show. But then I also noticed they've got a kid that I've known forever, and Keith Krikorian, who is one of the hottest commodities, arguably the face of the UFC, if you listen to his Instagram. And then even the homie, Dylan Budka, is on this card that I'm like, Dylan, what are you doing here, sir? Don't you do all of the MMA fighting and all of this? So because they have so many of our homies, it only makes sense that they would be friends with us. So I thought I'd get to know the people behind, and stay with me here, an organization referred to as Thug Trials. So if you weren't really drawn in by their promos, how are you not drawn in by the name of their organization? And here, representing Thug Trials, are the gentlemen behind it. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to Caleb, Tristan, and Daetwan. How are you guys doing?
Great. How are you doing, brother?
Well, doing good, man.
Very well. Gentlemen, I'm going to start right up top and just get straight to it. How does one come up with the name of this organization as Thug Trials? Where did this name come from? Who's responsible in this photo of three people I see in front of me?
So that's a joint collaboration between my son Caleb here and myself, and also a gentleman whose name I won't mention because I don't like him very much, who actually called us thugs, and he meant it as an insult. He was actually referring to my entire jiu-jitsu academy. He said, "Oh, they're just a bunch of thugs." And I thought about it, and I was like, I mean, he's not wrong. We do have a lot of thuggish people training here. And so for about a year, we've just been jokingly calling ourselves the Thugs. And then when Caleb wanted to kick off this trial or this tournament, which was really the result of a overnight drive to go compete at Hands while drinking way too much energy drink and downing too much nicotine, that led to us come up with this idea. And so we just named it the Thug Trials.
You know, guys, I will tell you this. You laugh, but if you've ever done enough caffeine and likely nicotine, next thing you know, the gateway drug is creating an event. So it does go hand in hand. But I have to tell you guys this. I don't know about you guys, but in modern society, if somebody usually calls you something, it's not uncommon to look at them and go, oh, you use that as an insult. I once got called incredibly unprofessional, and I was like, I'm so sorry. There are so many other people in MMA and Jiu-Jitsu that are incredibly unprofessional. And we are currently looking into creating, when I do create an LLC for this beast, likely it'll be called Unprofessional Productions. But I just tell people that I feel like sometimes people say something stupid that really becomes the most genius branding that you go, oh, thank you, I needed that.
Yes, 100%. I was just last night I was talking to my wife and I was like, I should send that guy a thank you card or something, man. He really nailed it.
Now, gentlemen, I'm going to get into your card here in a few seconds, but first, tell me about these promos, because obviously I see the two young gentlemen here. I see Caleb, Daetwan, you guys talking, and it's verbose, and it's almost like it's going against the current rule of promo videos, where people in current videos will go, hey, everybody, we're going to tell you on November 22nd, we got an event. But before we get there, let me tell you this really interesting fact. And it's so immediate, but you guys take the opposite route, which is we are jumping in on a conversation you guys are having, and then we slowly get into what the thing is. Because honestly, I didn't know what I was getting into for the first 20 or 30 seconds of y'all's promo. But then casually you're like, oh, I guess we should tell the people that we got Keith Krikorian. And I was like, wait, how? Who? What? How is this working? So whose ideas have been the creative force behind y'all's promos videos?
Really, it's just kind of been the three of us and my dad's wife every night kind of getting together, and there might be a little marijuana being ingested to help the creative juices flow, and then we kind of get some good ideas from there. But really, originally the idea for the promos was we really liked what Craig Jones did with all the CGI promos, and like One thing I really feel like is a lot of people take grappling way too seriously. You know what I mean? And like obviously we want to be professional. We want to put on a great show. We want people to show up, grapple their asses off, and put on a show for the fans. But at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of like the IBJJF flow grappling way of like two people looking as mean as they can on a poster, because half the time it just results in two dudes like stalling out in a closed guard position for their full time. So let's at least have some fun with the promos was kind of my thought on it.
No, it's
Yeah,
refreshing, super refreshing. By the way, I'm sorry to interject there, but go ahead,
no,
continue your thought.
I was just gonna say it's funny that you mentioned this Tarantino-esque because I'm probably not the greatest father in the world. I did let the boy watch a lot of Tarantino films when he was way too young to be watching them because I love him. My brother and I watched them when we were way too young to watch them, and I let him watch them as young. So he's a huge fan of them. So maybe that bled over some. I don't know, man.
No, you did it right. My parents at a certain point, I remembered when I was a child, I'm a fairly old gentleman, so when I was a kid, they took me to an R-rated movie called Bugsy. Now, I'm 7 years old and I have
Oh
no
yeah.
reason to be seeing this movie in theaters with them. But now that I'm older, I kind of realize a lot of money to babysit. He's already dumb. Let's just take him now. There's no hope for him anyways. So if we just let him see this dumb gangster flick, and lo and behold, some of my favorite movies are gangster flicks. So my parents introduced me to Scorsese, and then later they were like, maybe about 2 years later, they're like, we think we should really stop him from seeing R-rated movies. And at that point, I'm like looking at my parents being like, hey, I've already scheduled us to see Terminator 2, uncensored, no problem. Why don't, I'm going to pick the movies for you guys. That's it. So at a certain point, it is good. It's just, let's put it this way. I think it's important if you're a parent to just be able to add context because
Yeah.
kids have questions. So if they watch it and they have no context or frame of reference, then yeah, they're going to say and do dumb stuff. But if you're watching it with them, then you could explain like, well, young man, see, his ear had to be blown off because when you're in crime, anyways, we'll get to crime later. But I'm so drawn in by this, and it really does look like the relationship between the three of you is cool. But when I watch, Caleb, you and Daetwan, like together, you guys are a good pair. I feel like we're watching you, if we go the full Tarantino metaphor here, right before you are about to do a hit. So whatever sweet spot you're in, it is pulling me in and making me more interested. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you, brother.
Do you have more in the pipeline than we could expect? Because I just always see a style like this and think to myself, oh, they can shoot this anywhere, anytime. It's a lot of fun stuff so far.
You said this podcast won't be dropped till next week, right?
Yeah, I mean, by the time people see this, I'm sure they'll have seen a bunch that you guys have done.
So our next announcement we're about to drop tonight is going to be Achilles Rocha taking on Elder Cruz.
Oh shit. Okay. Well,
yeah,
great.
So we got a fun video coming up.
Didn't really prep me on that one. That's pretty dope.
Surprise!
I will say this. You know what's really funny is I'm cataloging a lot of the Grappling Hour history. This is our 8th season. And nice. I noticed there was an event called the Baddest Blue. So it's submission only, no time limit matches. And I went to go photograph that. And there's a clip of a young Elder Cruz giving his advice on how to survive submission-only matches. And this is from 6 years ago. But imagine my surprise when I'm sitting going through my footage and going like, oh, what do I have here? I was like, who's this dumb blue? But oh, shit, it's Elder. Oh, that's dope. Like, and the stuff he's saying is like, I'm sub only. I love this life. And I go, yeah, you could see right then and there. That's why he became who he became. So congratulations. That is a great, great match. I'm inclined to ask.
Yeah.
How are you getting this top tier talent? Because Keith, Steve, Garmo, you have a mix of PGF, UFC BJJ, somebody who's been in the UFC. So you've got this great mix of talent so far. Like, how have you guys been targeting folks, and how have you gotten them to agree to do this show?
So I'm the lead matchmaker for our organization, and I'm a competitor and a MMA fighter myself. So I started competing back in 2015. So for the past 10 years, just about, I've traveled the country as much as I can. And so a lot of guys like Keith Krikorian, I had competed on cards with, and we were friends on Instagram, and I talked a little bit before. So initially, I was able to get a couple guys like Keith and Steve Joachim in, and David Garmo in, because I kind of had a pre-established relationship with them. And then once we had a couple of the big names, it was a lot easier to go down to like the fight sports team and stuff like that and be like, well, we have Keith Krikorian signed on the card. We have UFC fighters. We haven't announced it yet, but we do have a former opponent of Mikey Musumeci, who is the one bantamweight champion, on the card too. So we were able to kind of use the names on the card to help us get other big names on the card.
That's impressive, man. Wow. Well, it also bodes well for your future as a continuing matchmaker, because you're targeting people in a sport where sometimes you mentioned not getting return on your investment in terms of excitement. And just seeing Garmo and Steve, like Steve is a hidden gem that's had some pretty good moments and really good stuff. Very easy to deal with and a longtime friend of the show. Garmo, best mustache in the game, bar none.
On point.
But it was kind of weird in that, for me, Garmo, when I heard he was involved in UFC BJJ, I said, well, that makes sense too, because that dude is always competing and doesn't care if it's going to go up in weight, down in weight. So I immediately, when I saw those two listed as a match, I thought that's pretty good. But getting a lot of these people, it seems like you have a good eye for that. Between you guys, is there like a group chat that you're doing when you're reporting back to them and saying like, yo, I don't know if you guys knew this, but like we just landed freaking Elder Cruz and Achilles, are there multiple alarm emojis that are going off? Like, what is it like in the little group chat I imagine you guys having?
There's a running joke we've made that, like, you talked about this video, so I'm like, we need to do one exit video when we're done with it, where we show like the difference between how we are when we're on the phone calls negotiating these deals and the difference we are when we hang up. Because then it's like, oh yeah, man, great. We can work that out, and afterwards it's like hang up, and I don't know if I can say this on your show, but holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And you're back in the call like, yeah, man, I think we can make that work out. No problem at all.
Yeah, you're talking to dudes who you've been watching for 10, 11 years now, grapple, and you're just in an Instagram group chat with them, and you're like, oh my God, I'm double checking my autocorrect every time, man. I'm like, make sure.
My wife and I went to the movie last night, and as a joke, I turned to her and I was like, I'm so sorry, babe. I have to respond to this tech from Wagner Rocha, because that's the kind of important person I am now. So you'll just wait for me. I'll handle that.
It is very funny, and I think just a mark of how long I've been doing this, where I go, oh, you guys texted Keith. All right. This child has essentially been the Peter Parker to my Tony Stark for over near a decade now. So it is wild to me that like he's become this incredible force, where I can remember him messaging me and being like, hey, Mr. Esparza, can I switch weight classes? And I'm like, yeah, you can just call me Raph. To this day, still very much calls me Mr. Esparza, and it's a very strange thing.
That's amazing.
But it goes to show his character. Good kid, easy to work with. So you are making some very incredibly smart and fun decisions. May I ask this, though? How am I going to see this? Because I'm producing an event that same weekend. You guys have too good of competitors where there's going to be intrigue if you can't go to see it live. But first, tell the people where they can see it live. And second, will there be an opportunity for a civilian like myself all the way on the West Coast to see something like this? Because you mentioned where you're located at, and I want to make sure people understand this is serving a different base than all of us left and right coast folks that always get the nice things.
Yeah, we're in the Midwest, buddy. Kalamazoo, Michigan. So if you want to see it live, it's going to be at the Performance Fieldhouse in Paw Paw, Michigan, which I promise you none of your listeners have ever heard of, which is just outside of Kalamazoo, Michigan, which probably doesn't really help you at all. As far as watching it live, we are going to have a pay-per-view. After I'm done with this phone call, I'm actually hopping down to the production company, and we should have a link and all of that that we'll be dropping on the socials this week to really kind of promote.
And we can send that over to you to put in the bio.
Funny thing about the pay-per-view, we actually my coach, shout out to Corey Brown, one of the best in the business and 3-time Pan Am champ at black belt. He called me after we signed some of these people and he's like, dude, how are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Somehow by the grace of God, we're pulling it off. And he goes, okay. He goes, have you thought about a pay-per-view? And I was like, the thought kind of crossed my mind. He's like, dude, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. A lot of people are going to want to watch this show if you don't produce a pay-per-view of some sort. So my past week has been digging deep on that and finding the production companies that have done that have the capability to handle it so we can do that.
Yeah, give that guy a raise because he brings up what I was here to yell at, which is if you don't show me in some way and you were just like, Keith was here, I might be like, okay, cool. What did he do?
Yeah.
So how did that go then?
Yeah, I'm just like, I mean, you have the talent associated that's important to see. But having said that, like, come on, y'all. Don't not share this with us because, like, I want to see who won, and I'm gonna want to see how that plays out. But you mentioned being in the Midwest, amazing. You know, I know I lived in the Midwest and the South for about 5 years combined, and I went to school out that way. I had a lot of great associations and times when I was out there. I have loved seeing the martial arts community grow and grow, specifically the jiu-jitsu communities grow, because it went from when I was in college, there being no gyms, to each time I left to a new place, a gym would open for jiu-jitsu. So I'm very happy to see that continue to grow. But I would like to ask this. You've made these big announcements. You've made this great experience. If people are going to your show who haven't been there or who are coming there, is there something they can expect? Because to me, if you're doing promos a different way, I get the sense that even this is a different experience from a live perspective.
100%.
So what makes your live experience different than anybody else's?
So my wife, and I'm not just saying this to earn brownie points, is an absolute genius. She graduated top of her class from one of the best design and marketing schools in the nation. And when we started this, she sat down and she asked a couple of questions. And one of them, I think, has really shaped a lot of what we've done. She looked at Caleb and she goes, how would you describe what you want to put on? And he said, I want to have the best jiu-jitsu party anyone's ever been to. And that has really been the guiding force of what we're going to do live. Like, it's going to be awesome jiu-jitsu. We're going to have the best competitors. But honestly, man, we want to throw one hell of a party.
Okay. I like that. It's kind of weird because I told you guys I do Subversive and we're like a party too, but it's a different party. Party. The thing I like to tell people is this. I joke that whenever we do these big events, what you really want is for the community that might not get parties to have a party. So like, maybe that's not necessarily something that happens, but I have a feeling your party's different than Fight to Win's party. That's different than somebody else's party. And I think what's great about dialing it in is if you're serving this underserved community, there's an audience that is clamoring for that. And what I think may be coming more prevalent to you guys, I don't know if you experience this, when you have a card that good, that local community is hitting you up going, hey, you got any more of those undercard spots? Because I'm pretty good. I'd like I just won a Naga, so I should be on your card. I got a trophy. If you guys want to see my belt, I can bring that too. So are you guys getting hit up right now?
It is so funny you say that.
I have over 85 applications in the mirror as we speak.
Awesome.
And literally one that was sent today literally was a guy who just won a Naga. And he was pointing that out to us. He sent me photos of his Naga belt. And I'm like, buddy, I got like 4 of those. What are we doing right now?
I have to be very honest to you guys. I recently took my students to their first Naga. And
hell yeah.
It was fun. I like that. I like Naga because I think it's a good experience to have. And my students, because I just brought a championship belt back recently, they were like, what's up, Naga champion to me? And I was like, I will not only disown you, I will beat you in front of all of my friends here if you guys say that out loud. Like, people actually kind of know me here because I interview people. I probably interviewed them. I guarantee you that's the silliest statement you will ever say if you come back in 5 years. And they're just like, no,
Yeah.
no, it's the Naga champ. And I was like, again, can't emphasize enough.
Please stop.
Do not. No. And I was like, I will beat you like a parent in the 70s in public. I have no problem with that. And they got the hint after that. But I will tell you guys this. When you do get that interest and people are wanting to come in, have you seen more folks get excited if they are on that card to have that that actual prominent spot to get more attention?
I mean, it seems that way to me. Who knows what's going through people's minds, right? But they definitely seem excited when they're talking to us. We've been driving around the past couple of days, and we intend to do this nationally. I just got to figure out how to do it. But for the local competitors, we've been driving around, doing interviews, shooting rolling footage, kind of trying to get them to get their, their 5 seconds of fame on all this as well. Give them a little shout out because they're out there competing. It sounds like you've competed a lot, so I've been doing martial arts competitions since I was 11 years old. You're out there sweating and getting hurt just as much as the big guys, right? So I figured we give them the guys in the other card and stuff the same kind of treatment of the interviews and all of that. And they seem to love it. They seem excited about it. And we're honestly excited to have the local guys on the card as well. I'm not gonna lie and say like we're as excited about that as Keith Krikorian, obviously. But I don't know. I think it's cool that we can do something for him.
I can tell you this. If I'm an aspiring grappler and I end up becoming on a card with Keith Krikorian, I'm pretty happy with life because I know that I get to watch a dope event. I know I get to be a part of a dope event, and there's only upside from it. So I do love seeing that come together. And just tell me a little bit about this location. Like, what is the location you guys have picked, and what is kind of the feel and the vibe?
Well, so for starters, sorry, we had a little camera trouble there. It's all good now, though. We it started. We were going to hold it in the gym. Yeah, I have a decent sized gym. I think it's like 5,900 square feet.
Could host about 200.
Yeah, I can host a couple hundred people. And back before when we were just going to kind of kick off a thing for the local competitors, for the caffeine and nicotine fueled pans trip, we were just like, yeah, man, we'll have a little thing. I've done that before, run some shows, had some of the local, big name black belts on. We were just going to do that, and then when we realized the size of card we were putting on, we're like, we're gonna need a bigger venue. And I actually briefly considered there's a couple of arenas near us that I feel confident we could have packed, but we really didn't want to get away from the intimacy of a smaller show, if that makes sense. Like having bigger names, but we still wanted that intimate, like, man, I'm only 3 rows back watching Keith Krikorian grapple and I have the worst seat in the house, So that's why we ended up going to Performance Fieldhouse. It's a nice big open venue. We've done some stuff with them in the past. What's that?
Room for VIP.
Yeah, and there's room. There's the upper deck where we can do VIP seating. Plenty of room for the setup that we want. So it just worked perfect, and it was big enough that we could expand it to 400 or 500 people, but not so big that it felt like it was a whole different kind of thing. If that makes sense.
It does. It does. And I mean, to me, I love the fact that when you say you've put on an event before, it means that you've done something to give back to the community on a probably smaller scale. You had fun doing it or you learned from it. And then you get these awesome opportunities and you just say, like, out of necessity, if somebody isn't doing your idea, you have to do it. And I feel like you guys filling in that role is something that has huge upside for your community. And if your plans are to go larger and nationalize this or beyond that, I think the best thing you can do is once you serve that community, you take that aspect and you find a way to project that bigger. But if you're taking care of that community is going to be behind you for a long time. So I'm very excited to see that.
That's one of the reasons that we really wanted to get this tournament going in the first place, was because there's a ton of up and coming grapplers in the Midwest. From our team, we have some killers like Levi Finley, Jackson Bowie, Jacob Cable have been tearing up the scene. But from around the state, I mean, the guy who Keith Recording is matching is a local 10th Planet guy named Tameen Saeed. He went out to Colorado, won the Combat Sports Grand Prix. We got dudes like Eddie Costa who have made it to day twos of trials. We got guys like William Vincent.
Vincent's
We got
killer.
We got guys like Brendan Barry. We got absolute monsters around Michigan who I really feel like if they get the same opportunities as some of the East and West Coast guys.
When's this dropping?
Probably like mid-November.
This episode?
Yeah. So,
all right, perfect.
Well, hold on. Let me be clear about this. To my people, it goes out.
Yeah.
For the next 30 days. So, like, if you want to tell something to the people who pay, I'm always down that they get to know stuff, but they also can have mouths. So,
can we? You
can say whatever you want to say, but I just want to make sure you know that information.
Will it be out before this Saturday? All right.
No,
so
I don't think so.
One of the guys. Okay, one of the guys who's going to be on the card that Caleb has had a couple matches against is Mondo Gutierrez, former Dana White Contender Series winner. Had a little time in the UFC. He was actually famously the guy who gave Conor McGregor a haircut on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yes.
And he's a hell of a grappler.
He just made it to round 2 of the PFL Bantamweight tournament.
Yeah, he's a killer, and again, he's a local guy. That's just like he definitely gets some recognition, but not what he deserves. I'll say that.
Even his opponent, Dylan Lemons, is actually the Ninja Grappling out in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He's a Ninja Grappling 135 champion, and Dylan Lemons is an absolute monster. He's only a blue belt, but we all know that belts don't mean anything. And this kid in Mondo is one of my picks for a match of the year. Period, because these two are both coming to both wrestle, do leg locks, scramble, inversions, everything that they can do to get the finish. These two are going to try to do.
Well, and you said you're from the Midwest, man. So you know, have you been out here? Our communities aren't very wealthy. There's a lot of schools around us that can't afford a football team, but you know what they can afford? Wrestling mats.
Yeah.
I mean, the Midwest is just filled with farm boys that know how to wrestle, and so it produces some great grapplers that you've probably never heard of, to be honest.
It's the grappling, because let's be honest, there's some really good grapplers in the Midwest. Because they're like, what else are we gonna do? We're just gonna wrestle and we're just gonna get good at this. So what they have that sometimes people don't have, that it's hard to teach, is this amazing work ethic. And sometimes you can see how bad they want it. So that's been something that I learned over the years, which why, when I was a kid and I was playing soccer, I got to learn. I was like, well, I'm Mexican American, so I feel like soccer's in our blood. And then you'd be in a soccer match with like somebody from Mexico, and you go, oh, I'm not that Mexican. That dude wants it way more than I do. Yikes. I thought I was fast, but I bet what fast feels like for real. So
one of my old coaches told me one time, he goes, we were training for an upcoming tournament. He goes, here's what I need you to understand, man. He goes, you come from a nice middle-class family, Tristan. I was like, I do. And he goes, yeah. Somewhere in the world, there's a kid right now, and this is all he's got. He doesn't have a middle-class family. He doesn't have a nice home. This is his one shot. And he goes, God help you when you step into those mats with him, because this is it. He'll die out there if he has to. And I didn't really believe when he said that until the first time I ran into one of them, man. And I was like, oh, my God, you're going to have to kill this guy to get him to stop. Damn near did, too.
Oh, major facts. And it's part of the reason why at a certain point, like, I'd like to say I'm healthy competitive. I'm not crazy competitive, so that if they beat us, there was a moment where I go, I think they need that more than I do. I mean, clearly they wanted it more than I did, but I got to learn very quick where I was like, there was a nice period where I was like one of the fastest guys on the team, and I was like, haha. Then literally 6 months later, I was like, I am not fast anymore, so I'm going to learn to be technical. But I'm intrigued with this. Okay, so I see 3 of you here. Now, I want to know, Caleb, how do you and Daetwan go back? Like, how do you guys get linked up? Because your relationship is what has drawn me in that I get a sense that you are kind of 2 guys who might be in the middle of a conversation that somebody might like perk their ear up to try and listen in and be like, what are they talking about? Like, who are those guys? So like, How
Dude,
did you guys meet?
I don't know if you guys can tell the story how you became best friends on a podcast. What's the statute of limitations on this stuff?
Oh no.
No, it's not that bad. I'm teasing.
Well, yeah, I'll let Daetwan tell his part of it. Basically, when I first met Daetwan, I was a junior in high school and he was a senior in high school, and we both were like first year or second year at that school, so we didn't have a ton of friends. And I was an MMA fighter about to make his debut, so I just kind of was not in the same mentality as all the other kids in high school. You know, like I was getting ready to fight a full-grown man in the cage, and a lot of them were worried about the homecoming. And so Daetwan was kind of the one kid around school who I could relate with mentally on a lot of stuff because he was a lot more mature than me. He was older than me and a lot more mature than a lot of the kids in the grade. And then I knew me and him were gonna be friends one day because he was a high level basketball player and he had a knee injury, so that was pretty well known around the school. And he was going around on crutches. And a now Division 1 wrestler came up to him and he tried to start a fight with him. I saw Daetwan hit him with a crutch and chase him down on his crutches. So I was like, all right, I got to get to know that kid a little bit.
Oh, I'd like to get to know that kid a little bit too. Daetwan, let's chat about that. At what point do you realize you are going to hit that person with your crutch? Because, and I'll give you a second to figure out your answer so that we don't implicate you in anything. But I was told in my time during the Midwest that one of the people who got me into jiu-jitsu was a former, well, not a former, you're never a former, but he was a Marine. And he introduced me to the thought concept of weapons of opportunity, meaning when you walk into a room, you assess everything around you and you say, okay, there's a coat hanger, there is a broomstick, there is a brick on the floor. And he goes, you better believe every room I go into, I do that. And since that day, I always, when I walk into a room, I go, not that I'm going to use any of this stuff, but like, I'm a guy with glasses, so I need to figure out where my weapons are before these get taken off. I need to almost have my feel around like Daredevil. So I'll come back to my question now that you've had time to think about it. At what point do you say, I'm going to hit this dude with my crutch?
Go ahead, Daetwan.
Really, I grew up fighting people in the streets. Therefore, like, kid wanted a problem with me, we could fight it. We would fight about it, you know? At that time, I was very disabled. So I took what was closest to me, and I gave him a treat for it, you know? And that's all it was, really.
Hey, listen, man, I think it's entertaining because, listen, I didn't expect when I was going to ask the question that you're supposed to ask, which is, how are you connected? Obviously, father and son. Okay, well, I can see how they know each other. When you're brought into this equation, I'm like, well, he's now a business partner, so there's got to be a compelling reason to bring. Oh, he hit somebody with a crutch. Yeah, yeah, you definitely need the muscle as well. But Daetwan, you are an intriguing person to me because we're going to talk with you a little bit more right now. But your interest in producing events, where does this come from and how did you become involved in this? Because it's one thing to be the best friend that you know you can rely on, like in the town where you say, if I ask any questions, I need you to go do this with me. You seem like the guy who's going to go do it with him. But for you, how did you get involved with this?
It's really exactly what you said. I'm the one that's gonna go do whatever with him. Like, you know, I've been training just since January. I went to ADCC Open with him. I go wherever really he goes. Kind of, you know, he brought me along on this journey, and I took it, with as much pride as possible. So, and just kept riding with it. And then once he called me and was like, "Hey, I think we could put on a pretty big event," I was just all for it. So, like,
We called him Big Nicotine and Caffeine Bender.
Yeah, he got like a 2 a.m. call as we were all hyped up.
Exactly. It was like late at night. I'm getting California burgers, and it was like, "Hey, we got this idea," and I was like, "All right, that sounds good." And I think like probably 10, 15 minutes later, I was like, "I got an idea how we can get this person on," and then we kind of took it from there.
I'm so intrigued by you. I think you're the secret sauce of this whole thing. I think it's great for a few reasons, and we'll get into your backgrounds here in a second. But the thing that caught my ear was you said you've only been training since January.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you've been fighting for longer than that in the streets. So I guess my big question before we get into all the particulars on how you guys started to train is, what took you so long, sir? Like, if you already have this affinity to settle things, how were you not day one signed up and taken to a gym?
So actually, when the midst of all the fighting is starting, I got into fights with my cousins, like with other people in Gary, Indiana. I went to Indianapolis. I was getting into fights with other people, and honestly, MMA and Jiu-Jitsu is not really that much of a big thing out there. It's not really like something that you hear of. Honestly, I didn't hear about it until I met him. Like, the only thing I ever knew about was boxing. So once I did meet him, he was kind of like, "Hey, man," he was like, "You could come to our gym," like. And I was hesitant at first, and it took me. I went, I did other things, but then when I finally came back and I settled down, I was like, you know what, this is it. Like this is what I'm gonna do.
Okay. Okay. I like that. And again, we're going to get into all of your background stories. We always do origin stories when people first appear on the show. But I think that's also what drew me in because Caleb, I don't know you, but you seemed familiar. Daetwan, I do not know you. And when you were in there, I was like, who is this guy? And why don't I know him? Because my job is to know everybody. So when I see somebody new, I'm like, this dude looks pretty cool. Like they got a good rapport. I like them. Oh, and they got a lot of my friends on this show. All right, they got good taste. So you having this mystery element, but also being the fixer, I'm just trying to figure out, what kind of level of enforcer are you? Are you the Joe Pesci enforcer? Are you like some guru at marketing that you're like, no, man. You know the idea to do a pit? Got high. I had that one first. Like, what do you see as your role on this team, sir?
I would say a little bit of jack of all trades. When they ask, we got this certain guy, I was like, I think we got a way about this, and then somehow I pull Elder Cruz out my ass. Like, when your Instagram is a certain name, and it's like, who is texting me? Like, especially when it's 8 in the morning, you're kind of like, who the fuck is this? But I find a way. That's all, and I kind of benefit where it's needed.
Incredibly fascinated by you guys. Like, incredibly, like, it is a good mix. So I am glad this happens. I'm going to return to the dad and son relationship here. Now, listen.
Yes, sir.
I loved my dad. We're very close. Having said that, my dad was involved in urban planning for the city of Los Angeles. I was going into production. As hard as it was for both of us, who are very similar, my dad would ask questions about the entertainment industry and be like, son, why don't you guys do this? And he was trying to connect as best he could. But in no way was I like, I need to work with my dad because I need to. It's like, no, we love each other, but my dad couldn't tell me the first thing about production, let alone jiu-jitsu, because sometimes he'd watch the show and he was a supporter. He would just go like, son, I don't get it, but like that one guy you interviewed, he seemed nice. And I go, thanks, Dad. I appreciate you. So how does it become that father and son decide to join forces to make a jiu-jitsu event?
It really, he's been my jiu-jitsu coach since I started pretty much, and he was my taekwondo coach before that, and he's my MMA coach too, so it was pretty easy once. This isn't the only business. We own another business together too, so when I kind of had the idea for this, he was the first person I came to because, money obviously isn't my strong suit. I'm only 20 years old, so I went to someone with a little more experience. My dad has a lot of business experience. He used to do a lot of stuff that relates to production and show production back in the day. So it was kind of like a obvious thing for me personally to go to him and talk about it.
Okay, no, I know the son part. That part's easy. I don't have money.
Yeah,
My dad might. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go to dad now. Tristan, how do you delineate between, son, that's a good idea, and son, my money is not going to touch this idea? Because in this case, it's got to be a compelling reason. So what was the compelling reason for you to become involved?
Man, that's a great question. My dad and I had a great relationship before he passed. He growing up, he would always hand me books to read. He'd grown. He was a microbiologist, and he was really he left the field at 40 years old because he wanted to start his own business, and he was very passionate that he never wanted me to work for somebody else. He wanted me to own my own businesses in life. So like I'm 11 years old, and he's giving me like Robert Kiyosaki books to read on how to like start your own business, right? So I kind of grew up with that, and in my mind, the way my dad and I always worked is everything we did, we just kind of did together until he passed. He was always, even companies that had nothing to do with him, I would always make him a minority owner because he was my dad. So I think it just created like this family legacy of, if we do something, if one of us is in something, well, I guess my wife says it best: if you come for one of us, you come for all of us, right? If we're doing something, we're all in it. If one of us is passionate about something and he brings it to the family dinner table on Sunday and goes, guys, I think we should do this, we're probably all getting into it. And when he came on this one, I don't know if there's ever been a student, and I'm not saying this because he's my son, I don't know if there's ever been a student I worked with that was as passionate about jiu-jitsu and about martial arts as my son. When he was 6 years old, the only way the teacher could get him to be quiet in kindergarten is she would let him give an update on all the fights and everything that had happened over the weekend, like a sports report at the end of class. She would go, if you will do your work and be quiet, I will let you tell the whole class about the fights this weekend. He's just wired that way. He didn't even know I did martial arts when he was a little kid, and he asked for a BJ Penn and GSP little like play set. And my wife at the time was real mad. She's like, I don't want him fighting. I'm like, I don't know where he got the idea to get this. He doesn't even know I trained. He was born for it. He loves it. It's his passion. And when your son comes to you that passionate, excited about an idea, and to be honest, it was a hell of an idea he came to me with. It was hard for me not to be like, hell yeah, man, let's do it. Let's go all in on it. And then the more it built, my wife and I just had a conversation where I was like, look, we're at a tipping point here. He's building some momentum. We can push all our chips in, metaphorically speaking, of course. We can push all our chips in and back him all the way and see what happens, or we can let him do it. She's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to do it with him. So here we are.
It helped I had Keith Krikorian already said yes when I should
It
have.
didn't hurt. It didn't hurt. I'm not gonna lie. Like coming with a result was good.
I mean, I think you could tell me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I feel like you're probably happy he gave you first refusal rights, because could you imagine if you had taken that somewhere else, Caleb, and you were like, oh, I love my dad, but we shouldn't do business together. I found another partner and we're going to be producing. And meanwhile, your dad's sitting there being like, wait, no, hold on.
We have a cage at our gym. That argument would have been handled in that cage. I'm just going to tell you right now.
I mean, I have to tell you this. I feel like, I know it's strange to say this because so many people grow up knowing martial arts now. It's very much the culture, and it is at the forefront of culture in a way that it wasn't 20 years ago. But a lot of this was starting to get more professional. And even if your son was starting to become immersed in it, I don't think it's going to be you at all. I think it's just the culture changed. And now, with or without you doing martial arts or having an interest in it, sometimes it just finds people the right way. And Caleb, just to let you know, when I was growing up, I had a knack for comedy, and my teacher would let me do comedy like my PE teacher, for literally the last 10 minutes of the class. So I would do like a top 10 list of jokes. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, when I got older, I go, why did they let me do that? Like, who lets somebody do this? And I think it's because if you show an engagement, sometimes they want to support that cause. But like, we're talking, I'm doing jokes about the teacher for the last 5 to 10 minutes. And like, he's just like, sure. And I have to tell you, I think that bolstered my confidence to be like, well, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? So now that I'm a guy who does the jokes about athletes to their faces, and people are like, how do you do this? I go, I've always been doing it. It's just now the faces are a little bit more recognizable and possibly can beat the shit out of me. So it is a good mix. All right, gentlemen, what I'd like to do right now is I would love to transition into getting to know what we call our origin stories. So first, Tristan, we're going to start with you. Where does martial arts enter your life? Were you playing sports as a kid growing up?
Oh, no.
And, where do you find this love and passion for martial arts?
Yeah, my wife laughs every time I tell this because it's just such a ridiculous story. No, man, I run my mouth a lot. I like to talk. I always like to make jokes. That was not well received when I was a kid. I got beat up a lot. I was in a lot of fights, and so at about 11 years old, I'm just basically getting my ass whooped every day at school. And I went to my cousin's house where he put on Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I watched it, and my 11-year-old brain, watching him doing splits between two chairs and kicking dudes in the face, just went, that's what I need to learn. If I could do that, no one would ever mess with me. Which, by the way, was horror, just not accurate whatsoever. But it lodged in my brain, man. I was like, that's the answer to all my problems. Learn how to fight. So I pestered my brother, and I pestered my mom and dad, and they took me down to Lions Taekwondo, and I was sure that was going to be the answer to all of it, man. Go to your local McDojo and get it. And I started training. Ended up loving it. And then did it for a lot of years. And then actually, what's funny is I took a break from it. And it was actually Caleb who brought me back into it because, like I said, he was just born with this love of it. I wasn't even training at the time, and he started begging to train. So I was like, okay. So I reached out to some old people I used to train with. Ended up at this new place. It was a pretty great place. We started training Taekwondo together. And then one day, I was a young man at the time. I was 28, 29 probably. And one thing led to another, and my stupid brain decided I should take up cage fighting. And I had kind of like a friendly little match with a guy from American Top Team. I'd never wrestled a day in my life. I was a pretty good striker. And he just took me down, and I had 3 rounds of just absolute hell on the ground. And I was like, I should probably learn how to grapple, huh? And that led me to finding, in the Midwest back then, this is probably 2011, 2012, there wasn't a black belt in a 2-3 hour drive, man. So I was training in a garage with a blue belt under Croyler Gracie, going over there 2-3 times a week, dodging bike pedals, trying to learn jiu-jitsu. And that one thing led to another. And here we are 13, 14 years later. I own my own school, and my son trains with me. And yeah, that's kind of it, man. It's all thanks to Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude, if you're seeing this, huge shout out. I owe you a lot, buddy. Free training. You can drop by anytime. I'll buy you a beer.
I want to point this out, is that we take this for granted now, how many gyms exist. But I swear to you, when I was in college, I was trying to train. I wanted to train. The Ultimate Fighter was blowing up. No gyms nearby. Didn't have a car at the time there. My car was back in California. So I needed it to be somewhere in walking distance. Literally the minute I moved to go get my grad degree, they opened up a jiu-jitsu gym. When I moved to get my grad degree and I was going to graduate school, I was like, is there a nearby gym? They said no. They said the closest one's 25 miles away. Same thing, no car. As soon as I graduated, a gym opened up. And I have interviewed many of those people now. So all I keep telling people is, I'm like, we take this for granted, but there really was an element of garage training. You can't find anybody higher than a blue belt. And your brain's functionally being like, I'm trying to train, and they are not helping me. So now when I see like a gym at every single corner here in California, my wife will literally, when she goes like this, she goes, oh, babe, did you know there's a new gym? And I was like, where? Who are they? Let me go talk to them. And she'll be like, why do you want to know them? I was like, I want to know why these things exist now. Because my brain from 2005 could not function with, where are they? I want to see more of them. So let me ask this.
Yeah.
So Caleb, for your first experiences, like for you, how do you become involved? Because your dad at that time was starting to fall a little bit more outside of the realm of martial arts. How does it find your way into your life?
Really quick, I'm gonna hop off. I have to get on with the production company
No
about the
problem, sir.
pay-per-view. So I'm gonna hop off. It was really great to meet you, man. Thank you so much for having us on. I apologize so
No
much.
problem. No apologies needed. Go get that on pay-per-view so I can see it at some point.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Oh yeah.
Caleb, take over here,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. Can you just say the question one more time? I'm sorry.
I got you, man. And hold on. Daetwan, do you want to move up, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm like, we're gonna give you a promotion here, young man. Now that we got your dad out here, we can get some real questions in. We're gonna get into shit. No, I'd love to know, Caleb, where does martial arts
Yeah.
find its way into your life? Were you playing other sports? How does it work in your world?
Yeah, when I was younger, I kind of from all of elementary school, I went to a really, really small school that didn't offer any sports programs through the school. I grew up loving basketball, but I wasn't really that good at it, so I always like played basketball, football,
Hold
baseball,
on, hold
all
on, hold
that,
on.
you know.
You have to. I know you might not see it in the frame, but I can't
I
ignore
see
it.
it. I
Okay,
saw it. Yeah.
but I think we need to acknowledge it because listen, I know Daetwan was saying, or it was alluded to having some basketball prowess to him, but
Yes.
there was a very clear, like, someone is being held hostage, shaking of the head that was happening, which is no, he's not. Don't let that man say he's good at basketball. Daetwan, why are we saying that about his basketball, sir?
Oh yeah, no, his basketball's terrible.
My basketball nowadays is not. I haven't practiced in a couple years. I haven't been on the court, you know.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Caleb.
No,
Continue.
you're good. I was just saying, but I like would do the sports through the Y, but I didn't really enjoy any of those. And I would kind of always end up getting in fights playing other sports because like I would get frustrated in team sports when my teammates weren't doing what they were supposed to, and I would get in a fight with them a lot of the time. And so eventually my parents were like, well, you need a little discipline. Let's get you into Taekwondo. And I ended up winning the I'm sorry, taking second place at the state championships when I was 7 years old. And my mom didn't really like me doing that, so she kind of pulled me out of that for a couple years. And it wasn't until I was like probably 12, 13 that I switched to a bigger public school for the first time. And I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Taekwondo and a little bit of kickboxing and MMA in like 2015. And then like for about 6, 7 years there, I was moving schools every year, and I didn't really have any friends outside the gym. All my friends were like 23-year-old fighters when I was 12 and 13 years old. So I just kind of it just became my whole life. I wanted to be an MMA fighter originally myself. I had a really close friend who we kind of both wanted to fight and debut. And then I had my first fight. I was fighting for a title, and he died a week before my last fight. So I haven't really fought since that last fight just because it was pretty tough. But I wanted to still be involved in MMA and the jiu-jitsu side of things somehow. So this was a good opportunity I saw.
Well, I'm glad you were able to make something positive out of that, and you kind of found where your passion was. So, gentlemen, now that I have a little bit of a sense of how things start for both of you, I would like to know if you could describe both of your first class experiences. So,
Yeah.
the first time you're in a jiu-jitsu gym, describe it. I'm going to start with you, Daetwan.
It was a little hectic for me, honestly. Um, I was nervous, definitely. Um, but honestly, after doing my first class officially and like, after the end of it, like it was a pretty great experience. Like I seen like everybody was friendly. You feel me? Nobody was a meathead, or nothing like that. But it just showed me like honestly, in my opinion, what it showed me is I don't have to fight people in the streets. I can learn how to do it officially, and professionally, and make money off of it later on in life. So it was an eye opener for me for sure, like uh, and a great experience overall.
What I love about this is you will find that jiu-jitsu and MMA gyms will be the biggest collection of how did we all end up here? You got cops
Yeah.
here, you got questionable criminals there, you have lots of different personalities, which makes sense. But what I find fascinating is when I was growing up, I never got into a fight. But now
Yeah.
I'm helping people who are fighting or people who are competing a level in jiu-jitsu where sometimes they're doing combat jiu-jitsu or they're doing aggressive sorts of matches where they almost feel like fights, even without being a fight. And yet I would be in a room with you and we'd be having discussions about martial arts, despite the fact that I couldn't ever relate to being in a fight. So I couldn't relate to that with you growing up, where it's not just like, yay, fun sparring. It's like, no, this dude's trying to kill me. So having that world and finding your in with this community is wonderful. It's the whole purpose of it. So I'm so glad to hear that you have that, because I'll tell you this much, Daetwan, the minute you said Gary, Indiana, oh, you didn't need to say more. I think I heard the words and I said, okay, that young man needed to fight to get out of bad things. But I'm glad he is here, not only with us, but thriving. So, Caleb, what was your first experience like for this, and really for you, what made you fall in love with this sport? Because you show such a knack. You are a matchmaker now, which makes perfect sense. But where did you start to fall in love with this art?
Yeah, my first class ever, the first gym I was training at, for lack of a better word, it's a really ghetto gym. It was in the middle of the north side of our city, which has a shooting there every day. It was on the worst street in town. It was an environment I was not overly familiar with when I first stepped foot in it in 5th grade. So it was definitely a little overwhelming. It was my first time really hearing music with some of the words like that in it, and it was my first time seeing just dudes get knocked out in the cage. I mean, the place I went was a lot more of an MMA gym than a jiu-jitsu gym. So a lot of times the jiu-jitsu class would just be 3 dudes with MMA gloves doing jiu-jitsu with strikes, you know what I mean? So, but the first time I came in there, I rolled with another kid my own age who was a little bit chubby, who I thought I was going to beat the shit out of. And then he tapped me 6 times in 2 minutes. And I was like, man, I'm pretty good at fighting. I had won, like I said, second place in Taekwondo. I had been in plenty of fights in school, so I knew I could strike. I knew I had good hands. But I was like, man, these wrestlers. Yeah, it was when my second coach, James Perot, really started working with me a lot. And I had a lot of great training partners back in the day. I had the #1 flyweight in the state, Andrew Livernoy, Trey Bowerman, Liam Noble, a lot of great wrestlers, great fighters, and just great dudes who kind of helped like 12, 13-year-old me to just fall in love with the sport. James Perot, he's not my jiu-jitsu coach anymore, but he was a great jiu-jitsu coach. And then, I mean, the day that I decided that I wanted to be professional was really when I started to work with my current coach, Corey Brown, out of Florida. And I just saw the life he lives, how good of a dude he is. And he kind of brought me and let me kind of shadow him and see the workload that needed to happen. And I was like, this is the lifestyle that I want. So
Love that. Daetwan, can I ask you this? Just because you're a little bit newer to this world and now you're getting more involved in helping with the production, because you're newer, what is it that you feel needs to be fixed about our community? Because for whatever reason, sometimes we get a little bit of a disconnect for audiences for jiu-jitsu. Or maybe you've heard this before, but when somebody says, oh, my jiu-jitsu matches are this date or this date, you don't have to watch. It's super boring to you unless you're into it. Like, what do we need to do from your perspective as somebody who's maybe a little newer to our community in terms of trying to get new audiences? And how do you feel that you guys are implementing that with your organization?
I think we're doing that in a way of bringing it out to more audiences. Actually, like a lot of people, like you said, from gyms, they're from different places. They have different personalities and all of that. I just think jujitsu really needs to be more mainstream than it is. Like even when people go and they watch UFC fights, they only want to see the striking. They only want to see, the stand up. They don't really actually pay attention to what's going on through a jujitsu match, or when a fight goes to the ground. You get what I'm saying? So. I just really think it needs to be just pushed out into a broader stream, and like, more people need to see it. More people need to pay attention to what's going on, like, and they need to, at the end of the day, see like this is very competitive and it's very interesting when you get down to the basics of it. Like when you know what's going on, the game becomes way more interesting. The first day I trained, I was like, it's not that interesting, but I like it because it's like it's competitive. But like as I continue to learn more things. Like Caleb do things on a daily basis that I go like, what the fuck? Like I've never even seen anybody do that. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, so it's just like when people get a better understanding of jujitsu, I feel like they'll love it. It's just we just gotta push it out a lot more. We gotta make it mainstream.
And
And that's
and not to step on Daetwan's toes, but one thing specifically that we're doing for like kind of like you were saying, maybe the people who don't have any background with jujitsu itself, but maybe are interested in checking out the card, they're local to the area, they know somebody on it. The two things that we're putting together, I competed myself on a card called the Black River Invitational. And they did this awesome idea where they had pamphlets and a website that actually broke down what jujitsu and what all the techniques of jujitsu were for a person who it's their first time watching jujitsu. So I thought that was a really good idea because that can kind of help. It's the same way if you go into a tennis game for the first time, if you understand the scoring system, it makes the match a little bit more interesting to see. And the second thing I think is just all the stuff outside the cage. Like we were talking about earlier, I'm sorry, those promos that me and him shot, a lot of people who aren't even in jujitsu are gonna sit there and be like, well, this is kind of interesting. What are they talking about for a second? And it's all the stuff outside the cage that's going to result to more eyes inside the cage, in my opinion.
Again, I love that, appreciate that. I'm not going to say I wouldn't have called you guys. I mean, obviously the card speaks for itself, but the vibe, the tone that I got from you guys talking about it was a fresh breath of air, and it drew me in. So I feel like you guys have accomplished something in terms of it's not Craig Jones, it's different, but it's using the idea of let's not be boring, let's try something else. And, you know, to warm the heart of a very annoyed and bored old dude who's surveying all this, I'm like, oh, look at these kids. That's smart.
Yeah.
Good for them, and they're starting to do it. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to ask this, is that so many of our friends, whenever we show them, say, and I don't necessarily love talking on bad tangents on this, but if you see a Mikey Musumeci match from UFC BJJ, you're like, clearly this dude is head and shoulders talented above so many other people. But when he's doing a crane kick to somebody to take his leg, as a producer, I go, how the hell am I supposed to get somebody to watch this? And then sometimes, you don't have to agree with me just to keep you clean, but sometimes when that happens, I have a feeling where I go, thank God people didn't watch this one, because I just thought, I don't want them to see that. I don't want them to think badly of a sport that I love so much. So we're in a place where we're starting to get more attention, and the more unique you can make your presentation, whether it's the marketing, the more unique you can make the event, and the more unique you can make the production, it all bodes well. So I will tell you this, Daetwan, you have a nice little thing that you can add from your perspective on being a little bit more outside, because all of us nerds, whenever we get too deep in the woods, I sometimes worry if that is what may be slightly holding us back to developing a wider audience. So just know that's a huge asset, sir.
I 100% agree, brother. And that's one of the things that my dad was talking about earlier, too, about the actual setup of the event. I mean, it's going to feel a little bit more like a night out at the club watching fights rather than going to a sweaty, smelly jiu-jitsu tournament in the gym. We're going to have a private VIP section that has its own private bottle service and catering up there. We're going to have 5-6 restaurants in the event catering the event. The live stream, we're not going to have these awkward long pauses where you just have to watch the mats or something. We'll have ads and videos we shoot to fill that blank space. So I think that the more we can make this look like every other professional sports event out there, the more we're going to get that overall general audience.
Love to hear that. Gentlemen, we have gone a little bit over the time, so I would love to give you another opportunity to go ahead and, plug all the things you want to plug. You can shout out any sponsors who are helping to take care of the event. But for right now, I just want to say first, before you do that, thank you so much for putting on a great new avenue for people to go compete. I'm excited to see what it looks like. But gentlemen, I'm going to put the camera back on you. Feel free to shout out anybody you'd like to and take care of any sponsors who take care of you guys.
Real quick, thank you for having us on so much, brother. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to our sponsors. Big one is Reflection Salon and Spa. If you are anywhere around the Kalamazoo area, you need a haircut, anything with the hair, massage, any of that, that's the place to go. This card would not be possible without them. Make sure you guys follow the Thug Trials on Instagram to see a couple more huge match announcements. Follow the Thug Trials on YouTube to see promo videos, and stay posted on the Instagram page to see the pay-per-view link. And if you guys are ever in around the Kalamazoo area, free drop-ins, Black Tie Jiu-Jitsu Kalamazoo. We'd love to have you. We always welcome visitors.
Before I forget, how do you get
Yeah.
the name Black Tie Jiu-Jitsu? Because I'm trying to figure out, I'm a guy who's either in sweats or in a suit. There is no in between with me. So how does somebody get at a gym called Black Tie? Because all I'm thinking about is this formal? Are we in suits here?
So it stems back to my coach, Corey Brown. He's had matches with Gary Tonin, Eddie Cummins, Keith Krikorian, actually. So he's had a lot of matches with some of the best. And back in the day, he used to just wear a cutoff, like one of those tuxedo T-shirts with the bow ties up top. And it kind of blew up. And people were like, when he went to start his own gym, he was thinking about what his brand should be. And everyone was like, well, you always wear those, cut off bow tie things. You should just make it Black Tie. And then we kind of made the raccoon, the mascot, so to say, for the or he did for the Black Tie organization, and then it just kind of took off from there.
You know, it's very funny. When you are around long enough, you don't always know everybody's stories, but you said that and it jogged memories where I'm like, I think I remember him. Yeah. That stands out because I remembered those rash guards. I remember that era. So even though I don't know him, I might be more familiar with him than I think I am. It's just, it is wild how this community is so small that things always have a way of working themselves out. Well, gentlemen, I want to say congrats to you both on putting another event together. I'm very excited to see what you guys have in store for us. I wish you guys continued success, and I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out. So keep up the great work. And before I leave you, who's the nerd with the Zelda poster back here? Because
that's my dad.
That's what I figured. I figured somebody here who has money might be the nerd, or that you were secretly the nerd and he had to fulfill your nerd habit. So I wasn't quite sure what it was here, but I've been staring at it.
That's all my dad. Yeah.
Okay. Just listen, he's not here, so I can make fun of him a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're good. I won't tell him.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure, because I'm looking at it, I'm staring at it. I was about to be like, I don't want to call this dude a nerd. He's a guest on the show. But he did leave, so now I can say it. Anyways,
exactly.
Caleb, Daetwan, very nice to meet you guys. I appreciate your time.
Great to meet you, brother. Thank you. Have a great day, man.
All right, ladies and gents, thank you so much for watching another great installment of the Grappling Hour. I hope you guys like this one. I like those folks, the Thug Trials folks. Very nice. Good people, good Midwest people. Hoping success for that event. But before you go, a couple quick reminders. First and foremost, if you like the show, like, comment, and subscribe right now. And if you don't know what you want to comment on, I'll ask you this. What is the wildest friendship that you have? Like, how did you meet one of your best friends, and who has a better story than becoming a friend after seeing somebody hit somebody else with a crutch? Because I don't know that I'm beating that one. I think that's pretty unique. So there's that. You guys can also continue to support the show by heading over to patreon.com/grappling hour. Get yourself a membership, become a subscriber. It really does matter to us here. It really, really does. So if you wouldn't mind, $5 a month, the most content you're going to see anywhere else. And we are expanding the library. We're going into the archives, and we're bringing out some old episodes. And I'm very excited to do that because our bench runs pretty deep here. And then additionally, you can check out some Grappling Hour merch at rafesparza.com/merch. Support the show. It really does mean a lot to me. And last but not least, check us out on Discord if you want to continue the conversations that we have here on the show. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for making it all the way through this episode. Love and appreciate you guys. Let's get out of here. We've been talking for a minute. You enjoy the rest of your day. But for now, It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.